The silence at our Christmas dinner table was thicker than the fog rolling in off the San Francisco Bay. So dense it pressed against my chest like a weight I couldn't shake. I sat there, frozen in my chair, my left arm pulsing with fire where Michael's fingers had clamped down like a vice, digging deep into my skin. The marks were already blooming, red turning to purple, ugly welts spreading across my pale forearm. Impossible for anyone to miss. Michael's mother, Margaret, stared with her thin lips parted in shock, her silver fork hovering uselessly in the air. David, Michael's older brother and a beat cop down in Oakland, had gone rigid, his sharp eyes locked on the bruises like he was already processing a crime scene. His wife, Sarah, a ER nurse who'd seen her share of domestic nightmares, was half rising from her seat, her hand instinctively reaching for a napkin to assess the damage. Even Lisa, Michael's messy younger sister, had stopped chewing, her bloodshot eyes wide with a mix of hangover haze and genuine surprise. But it was my 8-year-old son, Ethan, who shattered that suffocating quiet. My little boy rose slowly from his spot at the end of the table, his small hands wrapped around his iPad so tight his knuckles blanched white against the black case. His brown eyes, mirrors of my own, met his father's gaze with a quiet defiance that seemed too heavy for his tiny shoulders. I recorded it all, Dad, Ethan said, his voice cutting through the room like a clear bell in the dead of night. Those 5 words landed like a gut punch, draining the color from Michael's face until he looked as pale as the snow we'd never see in our mild California winter. His hand, still balled into a fist on the tablecloth, started to tremble. The man who'd built his real estate empire on charm and control, the one who'd just humiliated me in front of his whole family, now looked cornered, terrified. "What?" Michael breathed out, barely above a whisper. Ethan lifted the iPad higher, its screen casting a soft blue glow across the flickering candlelight. I said, "I recorded everything. Not just tonight. All of it. But to understand how this picture-perfect holiday meal unraveled into chaos, I need to take you back a few hours, when the facade was still holding, fragile as spun glass. I'd been up since before dawn. My stomach knotted like a sailor's rope as I prepped our cozy ranch-style home in the East Bay suburbs for Michael's family to descend. I tiptoed through the kitchen, double-checking every detail. The honey-glazed ham had to be juicy, the table settings impeccable, my makeup flawless, because the Harringtons demanded excellence, and Michael expected me to deliver it without a hitch. Don't overdo the sweetness on the cranberry relish this year, he'd warned me earlier, straightening his silk tie in the hall mirror. Mom bitched about it last Christmas. Remember? Oh, I remembered. Every nitpick, every sidelong glance, every way I'd fallen short in our decade of marriage, it all stuck like burrs in my mind. I cut back on the sugar, I murmured, smoothing my emerald dress for what felt like the 100th time. I'd picked green because Michael once said it made my eyes pop. But now I second-guessed it. Too flashy. Too much? Good. And keep Ethan in line. No iPad at the table. I don't want Mom thinking we're raising a screen zombie. I nodded, though Ethan was the least of our worries. My boy was eerily well-mannered for his age, quiet as a shadow, always buried in books or educational apps on his device, fading into the background. Emily, Michael's voice sharpened, making me flinch. The doorbell, they're here. I hurried to open it, plastering on a smile as Margaret Harrington breezed in like she owned the place. Which, in a way, she did. Her influence lingered in every corner of our lives. Margaret was a rail-thin widow, retired from her days as a school principal, with a knack for spotting flaws like a hawk eyeing prey. The garland on the door is lopsided, she declared without a hello. I'll straighten it, I said quickly. my pulse already racing. David and Sarah pulled up next in their SUV, followed by Lisa, who wobbled on her heels and reeked of last night's vodka. Michael's jaw clenched at his sister's state, but he held his tongue. The Harringtons were masters at sweeping dirt under the rug, pretending the cracks didn't exist. As we all filed into the dining room, I caught Ethan peeking from the hallway, his iPad tucked under his arm. He'd been glued to it lately, babbling about some special project for school. Little did I know, that project was about to expose the rot we'd all been ignoring. The meal was set to start, and with it, the unraveling of secrets that had festered for years. I met Michael Harrington on what I swore was my lucky break. I was 24, shelving books at the local public library in Berkeley, when he strode in, hunting for titles on commercial property flips. Tall, polished in his tailored suit. With that easy smile, he made me feel seen. Special. "You've got eyes like emeralds," he said that first day. And I turned red as a stoplight, stumbling over my words. For those first 6 months, he was a dream. Roses on Fridays, dinners at swanky spots overlooking the bay that my librarian paycheck couldn't touch. "You're perfect, Emily," he'd murmur, fingers tracing my cheek. So soft-spoken, so graceful. Not like those bossy types I dated before. You get what a real partnership looks like. It sounded romantic, like he was molding us into something beautiful. But when I met his family that first Sunday brunch at Margaret's pristine condo, the red flags waved, though I was too smitten to notice. "So, you're a librarian," Margaret said, her tone dripping with pity, like I'd confessed to flipping burgers. "How charming." "Emily's passionate about literature," Michael jumped in. But his voice had that edge, like he was apologizing for my choices. David barely acknowledged me. Just a curt nod. Sarah shot me these pitying glances, like she knew a storm was brewing. Lisa, barely out of her teens then, smirked every time I opened my mouth. "They'll warm up," Michael promised later. "We're tight-knit, protective, post-wedding." The changes crept in slow, like fog off the ocean, subtle at first. Michael started suggesting tweaks. My outfits were too casual, my laugh too loud at his business mixers. "Babe, that top's a bit revealing. I just want you looking classy," he'd say with that concerned frown. And maybe tone down the volume. My clients might think it's unprofessional. It felt like care, like he was investing in me. Why keep the library gig? I pull in plenty from the agency. Focus on our home. Make it a sanctuary. So I quit. Revamped my style. Learned to whisper my opinions. To shrink myself smaller. When Ethan arrived, I hoped it'd steady us. Michael beamed at having a son, but his rules were ironclad. Boys need structure from day one. No coddling those cries. Ethan grew quiet, mirroring my caution, tiptoeing around his dad's moods. It tore at me, but speaking up risked escalation. Ethan was a prodigy reading at 3, tinkering with gadgets by 5. When Michael gifted him an iPad for his 7th birthday, Ethan dove in, creating movies, as he called them. "Look, Mom, I can capture anything and save it forever." I smiled, distracted, never probing deeper. The past year, Michael's temper had sharpened like a blade. Critiques turned to barbs, expectations impossible. And when he lost it, his grip on my arms left shadows I hid under sweaters. I rationalized it. Marriages have rough patches, right? He cares so much about our image. But bruises don't lie. And deep down, the truth gnawed. This wasn't love, it was control. Christmas morning hit like a freight train. I lay awake, mentally rehearsing. Ham in at 8. Table by 9. Me presentable by 10 for the invasion. Make it flawless today. Emily, Michael grumbled, rolling out of bed. Mom's still harping on last year's flop. That flop was slightly grainy stuffing I'd groveled for months. I slipped downstairs, envy stabbing as Ethan slept soundly. The ham roasted on cue. I set the table with our heirloom china, every utensil aligned like soldiers. At 10 sharp, the doorbell chimed. My heart slamming, Margaret stormed in, eyes sweeping like a searchlight, dressed in her designer wool suit, hair in a severe chignon. She radiated judgment. That wreath's off-center, she snapped, shrugging off her coat. On it, I mumbled, fumbling while she watched. David and Sarah arrived shortly. David looking beat from graveyard shifts. Sarah handing me a pie with a warm smile. You look great. Emily, that green's stunning. But Margaret overheard, green for Christmas? Red's more traditional. Don't you think? My cheeks flamed as Sarah's kindness wilted. Lisa stumbled in last. Mascara smeared. Breath like a distillery. At 25, she was a perpetual mess. And Michael's fists clenched. Lisa, are you wasted? He hissed. It's the holidays. Mikey, chill. Margaret's face purpled. You're an embarrassment. Lisa, how dare you? Oh, get over it, Lisa slurred, flopping onto the couch with boots on. Like this family's not rotting from the inside. The air thickened, tension coiling tight. Ethan appeared then, iPad in tow, dressed neatly but eyes wary. Hi, Grandma Margaret. Hi, Uncle David. Aunt Sarah. Aunt Lisa. Margaret softened a fraction. My, you've shot up. Ethan, hug your grandma, Michael ordered. Still seething. Ethan complied, but clung to his device. What's on the iPad? David asked casually. Games and stuff, Ethan muttered. Videos too. What kind? Sarah probed. Ethan glanced at me. Then Michael, his face closing like a book. Family memories. The oven timer buzzed. Saving me from digging deeper, Margaret was already griping about the appetizer layout. Let's eat, I chirped, voice cracking as we settled in. The table gleamed, crisp linens, twinkling lights, china sparkling. But it felt like a tribunal. Margaret claimed the head spot beside Michael. David and Sarah faced off, Lisa slouched, Ethan perched at the end. iPad in lap. The ham looks overdone, Margaret critiqued pre-carve. My knife hand shook. I timed it perfectly. Same as always. Always dry. Then, she shot back. Michael's embarrassment simmered. His defense half-hearted. I'm sure it's fine. Mom. Emily tried. Plates served. I braced for the potato verdict. Too garlicky, Margaret declared. I can whip up new ones, I offered. Don't be absurd, Michael barked. We're not restarting over spuds. Lisa snorted. Remember Emily's sugarless pie? Tasted like sawdust. Or the scorched Brussels sprouts that set off the alarm, she piled on. Shame burned hot, every flub resurrected like ghosts. Enough, Sarah interjected boldly. Emily pours her heart into this. Margaret's eyes iced over. Heart? I raised 4 kids. Cooked from scratch. Never a mishap. It's competence. Not effort. The quiet crushed. I stared at my plate, blinking back tears. Michael stayed mute, always did when Margaret attacked. Change topics, David suggested lamely. Like how Emily's a lousy homemaker. Dust on the shelves, Lisa jeered. I'd scrubbed yesterday. Quits her job but can't hack it. Ethan tensed, gripping his iPad. I try, I whispered. Trying's not cutting it, Margaret sneered. Then, disaster, reaching for the gravy. My trembling hands tipped Margaret's wine glass. Merlot bled across the cloth, soaking her suit. Oh God. Sorry. I leapt up, blotting frantically. You idiot, she shrieked. Ruined. Michael's rage ignited. Look what you've done, embarrassed us all. Accident, I pleaded. Always accidents. He advanced. Eyes storming. Dry ham. Bad potatoes. Dusty house, all you. Michael. Cool it, David murmured. She wrecked Christmas. Michael roared. Ignoring Sarah's, it's just wine. She's worthless. His hand shot out, fingers crushing my arm. Pain exploding as he squeezed. Stop, you're hurting. Maybe that'll teach you. The room froze. Bruises rose visibly. No denying now. Silence reigned. Until Ethan stood. I recorded it all. Dad. Michael's fear bloomed. What? Everything, not just now. Gasps erupted. All the times you hurt Mom. Yelling. Grabbing. Pushing. Revelations poured. Wrist twist last week. Counter shove 2 weeks back. Plate smash last month. Margaret wept. David shifted to cop mode. Sarah checked my arm. Lisa sobered, I suspected. Show me, David demanded. Ethan played a clip, my pleas echoing. Michael's threats raw. Michael crumpled. Misunderstandings. No, Ethan cut in. Hurting's wrong. David phoned it in. Assault. Brother. Evidence stacks. Sirens wailed. As cuffs clicked. Michael glared. Not over. Ethan squeezed my hand. Yes. It is. For the first time. Freedom flickered, paid in scars. Silence broken by a child's courage.